Yeah, just look.
Hey, what's up,
It's done.
everybody? This is DeFi Enthusiast here, and I've got an exciting, interview for you guys. It's an honor to have Andrew here. Andrew is the founder and I believe also the dev. Am I correct on this?
No, 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 not necessarily. We can get into that, but yes, I am the founder. I
Yeah.
have a couple devs that work for me, though, obviously.
Awesome.
Um, so
Well,
yeah, we can touch on that.
well, yeah. Andrew is the founder of Novo, which is an amazing DeFi project that is coming out really soon. I read the white paper, and I was actually really pleasantly surprised, at how good this thing actually is. But over to you, Andrew. I'd like you to talk about, your crypto journey and how did you get into
Yeah,
crypto? And
sure.
yeah, I mean, let's start off with that, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll talk about Novo, obviously, but maybe a little background would
Yeah.
help. So I actually, I am 31 years old. I actually started my first company my senior year in college. So I guess, gosh, that was back in 2014. I graduated with a degree in economics, which I guess is important today more than it was then. But yeah, I started a software company called Secure, and so I built and ran that for about 5 years. And so really 4 years. And so that was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. We kind of went the typical tech startup VC route. We raised some money. We had some pretty prominent investors here in Atlanta, which is where I currently live. We also went through an accelerator called TechStars. It's pretty prestigious accelerator in the States. It's kind of in the same league as Y Combinator. And so I did that for a while, ran that as the co-founder and CEO. In 2018-ish, 2019, I started getting pretty burnt out. I didn't love necessarily that the like tech startup bro space that I was in, and even my co-founders and some of the people I was working with, I didn't think they were necessarily great people, and so I eventually left Secure and started pursuing some other things. And obviously retained a bunch of ownership. And so we actually sold Secure, I guess it must have been a year and a half ago now, for $10
Right.
million, which was a really great exit for everyone. So I did that for a long time. And then I actually took a break from the tech side of things, and I started a boutique hotel lodging and hospitality group. So I have started buying up boutique hotels in tertiary vacation markets in Atlanta, or sorry, in and around Atlanta. So actually in North Carolina. And so we've been doing that for 2 years now and are growing really quickly. And that's been a lot of fun. It doesn't take up a lot of my time. And so in those past 2 years, I've gotten very involved in the crypto space, and then more so in the past year in the DeFi space. So, first and foremost, I am an investor, right? The reason I'm here is because I was interested in the technology, and more importantly, I was interested in how could I put capital to work, my own capital, and potentially generate better returns. And so, I guess ultimately that's how Novo kind of started. Was I have funds, I have capital, and I wanted a way to I was looking for someone to start solving some issues in the DeFi space that I was seeing, and it's almost like I'm scratching my own itch, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, we can kind of dive in a little bit about that. I think that covers my personal story. I don't know if you Google me, Andrew Eddy, you'll probably see like interesting. See the Spark stuff.
Sorry, your
Hey, can you
voice
hear me?
it got a little bit stuck. What were you saying? If I search for you on Google,
Yeah,
what would it?
you'll see like a shark attack headline.
Shark attack
And
headline. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
And
Awesome.
so, yeah, so that was like a year and a half ago. I actually had a massive, can you see it?
Wait a
I
minute.
had a 10
I
foot
think I've
bull.
seen that headline. That's, yeah. I actually did see that headline when this whole thing happened. Oh my, oh man. So
Pregnant wife saves husband was like the thing.
I remember. Oh man, that must have been a horror. I'm sure that must
Yeah.
have been a horrifying experience, man. Like,
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't fun, and it was pretty yeah, it was pretty bad. And so I don't know. I just put that out there because if you do Google me or look me up, yeah, you'll probably you'll see some of that stuff. And yeah, it was pretty intense and traumatizing. But I'm okay. I've got like most of my mobility back, so you know, that's in the past. I feel good, but it is interesting. It's also kind of built into who I am and maybe a little bit
uh,
about my character and my drive. So, yeah, just another funny little
yeah,
side note about me.
you're absolutely right, man. I mean, it's sometimes those traumatic experiences. They're the ones that actually create, some real, they make us see life in a different way. And I guess we decide to really think about how we're going to approach our future or our present from here onward. So,
Yeah.
and I guess now the future looks bright, man, with with Novo. So, speaking of
Yeah.
which, how did Novo come about? I'd really like to
Yeah.
know about this.
Yes.
The foundations of it, how it came about, what was the vision? Why did you end up? Like, for example, I know you got into crypto as probably an investor like most of us, right? But what made you really decide to build Novo? I'd love to can you elaborate
Yeah.
on that, please?
Yeah, I can. And tough to it's tough to doing it without like explaining what I sort of don't like about this space. So in crypto as a whole, and this isn't just DeFi, there is so little transparency. And if there is a Docs founder or something, like if there's a Docs founder, it's typically not real. And so like what I kept seeing in this space is like just a bunch of hype, right? Like every single project you see seems to be a fork of some other project. And in my opinion, right, like okay, you didn't come up with the original project. So you're just gonna kind of tweak a little thing here, say it's unique, maybe you're adding more utility to it. But in reality, man, like all of them are money grabs. And so like there's not a lot of trust in the space. And so that was, first of all, that was one of the biggest things I saw was like, can we get some people in this space building real projects that are going to show themselves, be honest, be transparent with the process. And like, so first and foremost, like I wanted that. And I figured I could give that, right? Like keep people involved in what you're doing. Don't hide, right? Don't hide behind your screen. And so, that was something I kept seeing in the space. The other thing that sort of propelled me into moving into this side of DeFi and then obviously launching Novo was I kept seeing like rebase tokens, Olympus DAO, Time Wonderland, these growing to prominence really sort of frustrated me a little bit because like I don't necessarily believe in sort of how they work, and we can get into that. But as an economics major, right, and just sort of having a very basic understanding of money, it seems to me, and it's been my theory that rebasing isn't going to work, right? And like, there's a lot of good excuses around why they do it, right? The first thing they'll tell you is, okay, ignore the price, right? We're going to ignore the price because you're going to get so many rewards, right? That's going to combat the downward price pressure associated with an increasing supply, right? So we're just going to mint more tokens and you're going to get so many of them that it doesn't matter what the price is. So they'll tell you that. And I will give projects like Olympus a little bit of credit, right? Because they have really shown the power of a DAO, of treasuries, of smart contracts in general, and their ability to do some really cool things in the DeFi space. But ultimately, I'm just going to say this, I'm going to draw a line in the sand. They're not going to work. Okay. And the main reason I say that, and I think if there's anything anyone can take away from any of this, it would probably be start asking yourself 2 questions in any investment, right? If anyone's offering you returns or an APY, where is the money coming from? And then more importantly, who's paying for it? So if you can answer those 2 questions, I think that the protocol in general can be healthier. And then also moving forward, right, there's other things you can do similar to what these companies are doing with the Treasury that does make sense, that definitely should be expanded on. So that's a long-winded way of saying Novo was started because I wanted something different. And so the comment, and sorry, I'm going on here, but and I can keep going.
That's fine, man.
But
this is why I brought you here, man, because I like, I mean, people are gonna think that I'm biased or something, but the truth is that I love the white paper, and I was like, man, I really gotta talk to this guy, because like I've sort of been really frustrated with the DeFi. I mean, I love DeFi. I think that's where the future is. I'm totally, I'm not in favor of governments controlling our money, right? And
right.
So we need that transparency, and that freedom and that fairness and that honesty, because I think there's so much money to be made in this space, but if it's done in an honest and transparent way, everyone can benefit, instead of people rug pulling and making empty promises. And especially with these, like you said, with these rebase tokens, man. I mean, so I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like empty promises, man.
Yeah, like, I mean, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, recently, I don't want to talk about another project, but again, but like like for example, Drip, they've been doing some really cool stuff, and the way it's designed, yeah, it works, but still, like for example, I know who you are. I still don't know who Forex Shark is, for example, even though he has built that trust, around people. Yeah. But like, I know you personally now. I can see you. I know who you are.
Yeah.
And that
I think it's it's a good step, right? Like, and obviously me showing myself doesn't solve all the problems, right? No. Because like there's still bad actors, and it means that we have to trust people on my team, and I have to do things to make sure I can trust them. And so, I do everything I can. Obviously, like, so this project started, a couple probably good questions and things that we should talk about, or I didn't do a pre-sale or anything like that. I just launched it.
I was actually going to get to that why didn't you actually have a, pre-sale or IDO, for example, because I'm actually very curious about that. And obviously, another thing that I really wanted to know was that why did you opt for trading the token while the project is still under development, I believe, right? I mean, it's not finished yet. I mean, how does that benefit Novo? Because, especially yesterday, I saw something really cool. And I mean, this is something, what I found interesting when the Animal Farm launched. I mean, I was in there, and what was interesting was that the way they've designed the mechanism is, they blacklisted all the bot addresses, and, basically those people, they lost all their money, the guys who were trying to, botch up and manipulate the price. But I mean, how does this benefit Novo? I'm just curious. And have you set up a mechanism where this thing does not, fall under, fall under price, or some people just come in and pump it like crazy and dump it, Yeah.
So, so those are all good points. And so actually we did implement an anti-bot mechanism into our launch. And so, we blacklisted, you can't catch them all, right? But I think we had like 2 or 3, it looked like 2 or 3 bots that bought, and they bought like $9 worth of Novo and sold it for like $30, right? So like not meaningful action. And so the main reason, okay, so I guess 2 things, right? Why did I not go the IDO route? Well, to start there, I'm actually a little hesitant, for starters, being a US based developer. I have to be very careful, right? And so when it comes to ICOs, for starters, right? Like that's regulated in our country. And then an IDO may not be necessarily. and I don't know what's going to change. But the idea of saying, hey, I'm going to give you access to my token in exchange for funds, maybe that's okay for liquidity, right? Maybe that's okay to seed liquidity if there's no expectation of, hey, you're an investor, I'm giving you this in exchange, right? But it's a little bit of a gray area. And so I figured if I can seed the liquidity myself, right? So if I can put up the liquidity and I don't have a need to raise the initial liquidity, perhaps that could be an advantage, because I'm basically putting my money where my mouth is. I took as much BNB as I could pull after all the money I've spent on developing this thing, right? I'm not the dev. I paid developers to do this stuff. And so I put a ton of BNB into the liquidity pool, and I said, hey, here it is, go trade it. Because not only do I think that was a good way for people to say, okay, the founder really has his skin in the game, because I didn't just leave the liquidity pool, I locked it in Unicrypt, right? I can't get that money back. And I don't know if there's a world where I do get my liquidity back, right? It's growing and it's going to be there to further this project forever. So when it comes to making money, I would say Novo has been a very expensive endeavor for me, right? Obviously, the goal is to grow it. And the second reason I didn't go the IDO route or whatever, whatever you want to call it, launchpad, pre-sale. I've seen so many of these launch pads, and to me, and I don't want to insult anyone out there, they've almost become like a mini pump and dump in themselves, right? People are like, oh, I just have to get whitelisted. I don't care about the project. I know it's going to get added at 2 or 3x, and maybe I won't be able to get in on the next 3 projects. I'm going to buy it and dump it. And so I wanted the natural growth that comes from basically launching a project from nothing and saying, hey, this is super, super risky at this point. You have no clue what this project is or who it is. If you can invest in it now, you'll probably have a better return, right? You're always going to get a better return if you're early. That's just the way things work. And so I know that's another long-winded way of saying, like, why didn't you go that direction? But I just wanted it to be as fair as possible. And so obviously another mechanism that we implemented is the max wallet of 5 million. And so I know personally, the early investors in our project, we were in stealth mode. The only people that were buying were people that would actually listen to me. I would tell everyone that I possibly could about Novo, hey, you should go buy this. 80% of them didn't even have a Coinbase. People didn't have Coinbase accounts. So I'm literally like walking people through how to do pancake swap and all this stuff. No one could get BNB. I probably received a Venmo and sent BNB to 30 people. So it was interesting. It was just people that wanted to, and like people on my Instagram or people that would listen to me on Reddit, like those early people. So it was just, I don't know, it was interesting, and it seems more of a natural progression for things. I do want to add one thing. It's funny because, I would go and try to promote the project a little bit. Maybe it's on a subreddit or something. And people are like, can I say a bad word? People are like, get your shit out.
Sure. I mean,
get your
it's YouTube
shit out of here. Okay. People are like, get out of here. Stop shilling. And then, a week later, they're like, why didn't we hear about this? It's like, no one wants to invest in a new project until the project's successful. So it's always double-edged sword.
Well, man, I mean, as the joke goes, you can shill it out you can totally shill it out if it's launching to a ton of degens, but you can't really shill it out to people that really want to get in on the vision. So, the term degen is totally, I think, applicable right here at this very moment. I mean, for me personally, and I'm just telling this to anybody that follows me, I don't have a very huge following, but still, I actually bought into the project because I actually believe in it. Because frankly, man, I'd rather make money from a sustainable project than something that's just going to pump and dump. And I'm just going to be like, you know what, man, where do my funds go? I like these impressive APYs and things. That's all well and good if you're able to, sustain it, man.
I know, and they're not sustainable. They're just not sustainable, right? So it's fundraising, or call it what you want. Say it's again, that's what they'll say, right? It's, hey, you're offering 1,000,000% APY. And people, people don't care, right? As long as they're in early, right? As long as they're in early enough to see a little bit of growth, they're going to be fine. And so I think most people are logical in the sense that they know that can't work.
Yeah.
And so like we are going to see a continued massive correction in DeFi with these, like, even, I don't know, I'm probably just going to call out projects. I don't care. But like, I'm seeing auto staking projects like Titano, and like APYs, again, in the thousands of %, right? They're not going to work unless they'll work for a time. And that's as long as new investors are coming in, right? And it's a constant robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? Like, so it's just not going to work. And again, if you just go back to that simple 2 questions, where are my rewards coming from and who's paying for them? And I promise you, if you ask those questions, you can kind of tell if it's, well, I'm not going to use the word Ponzi, but like you can kind of tell it's like BS or it's marketing or whatever. So again, like, let me clarify. Olympus DAO has done some amazing stuff. I don't think rebasing works, but I think that what they've done with the Treasury and the idea of backing the volume of ohm to DAI is very, very cool. Very interesting stuff. Anyone else that's copied them? Time Wonderland, money grab. Okay, money grab. I don't care how much you change the documentation's the exact same. Like, wouldn't you, like, I'll say this, if you do believe in rebasing, buy ohm, buy Olympus, don't go buy a fork. Okay. Yeah. And so I know I'm getting a little heated about it, but that's just, that's my opinion. And we should probably circle back to Novo because that's the reason we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
And so why don't I just tell you a little bit about it? It's, I call it a volume-based protocol. I've also been known to call it an anti-rebase protocol. Just
so when you say volume-based protocol, can you elaborate for the layman? Because there are a lot of people that are not really going to understand that term. They're like, huh? Well, because even when I kind of know DeFi, but I was reading the white paper. I understood most of it, but then there was some stuff. The reason I brought you, I wanted you, to be on the session is so that most people that come into crypto, for them, it's like, okay, I put my magic money in, boom, it 10x's and I get out, right? How would you get those people to stay in and be like, what?
I know, yeah.
I actually invested in this great project and I'm going to stick to it. Like, for example, I was in Zilliqa for a very long time until the market totally took a downturn and, everybody started manipulating the market. And I was like, what, no matter how great Zilliqa is right now, I need to get out and secure myself. But which is why, but during these times, there are projects, there are DeFi things where people are staking money to secure their money, to make their money work for them. So why would I really want to stay in Novo? And basically, what do you mean by the terminology that you use? Can you please elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, of course. And that's a good point, because, like, to be honest, if Bitcoin's going down, the whole market's going down. Right.
Yeah.
Like we're still, I mean, it's still Bitcoin. It's still, there's dominance there. And so,
sadly,
so,
I'm sorry. I'm one of the few that is not too big on the orange coin, man. But yeah, I get it.
Hey, listen, to each his own. Sure. It's the OG, but, yeah. And so, like, over the past 2 months, like, I don't care what you're doing. If you're in the green on a project, that project, I don't know what that project's doing, but, and so I think the idea in times like this is to mitigate risk and you're right, to park your assets in something more stable that hopefully can generate some additional, maybe it's a stable coin to generate additional stable coins. And so when I say Novo's a volume-based protocol, that approaches the reward question that I keep asking. And so, like, I'm going to FUD myself a little just to get ahead of some of the questions. People, like, when you think of a tax on transactions, and you think of, like, basically getting rewards that way, it is similar to reflections, right? And it's similar to, like, SafeMoon or something like that, or like some meme coins. Now, everything that we do and everything we're about is, like, not that. But I will say this: reflection tokens and tokens that regenerate their own revenue, they are on to something a little bit, right? Like, and that is the fee they're taking is real money. Okay. So by charging a tax on transaction, that's real money. That's not being minted. That's not being, spun up out of thin air. Like that's real. And so that's important. There's an angle there. The other aspect is its ability, a token that can use part of that transaction for liquidity or to generate its own liquidity. That's an advantage too that I think is often overlooked. And so by being a volume-based protocol, Novo charges a 5% tax on buys and sells, right? So buying and sell transactions. We've seen this, right? This exists in a lot of different spaces. And so to break that tax down for you, 0.5% of that is burned, right? So we want to be deflationary, okay? Like, again, everything that we do is like the antithesis of rebasing. So we want to be deflationary. I mean, it's obvious. A decreasing supply is going to have an increasing price in time, over time, right? So that's part of the transaction. Another 0.5% of the transaction, so a pretty small number goes directly to the Treasury. And the Treasury, we can get into a little bit. The Treasury will do things to further the protocol. Let's touch, if you'll remind me, we'll touch back on
absolutely,
that.
Because I do have a question regarding that. But but let's first,
we'll keep going. Well, let's break down. We'll keep breaking down the fee, and then of course there's 2% and 2% left, 4% out of the total 5%. 2% goes to generating liquidity. What's cool about that, and what's cool about our contract as a whole. So our contract is actually a proxy, and some people may see this as a negative, like because of the immutability of it, but it means that we can upgrade and change things in the future without having to roll out to a V2, which is a pain in the for everyone, project owners included. So basically, we've got that 2% that's regenerating liquidity. So it's taking that Novo, splitting it half and half Novo, half BNB, or whatever chain we're on, and if we can, and if we have time, we'll talk about the chain agnosticism part of all this. And then the remaining 2%, which by the way, this changed as well, but the remaining 2% goes to stakers. And the reason I said the liquidity part of the 2% is interesting is because I think at a certain point, we'll get to a safe space when it comes to liquidity to where we can change that 2% to staking, and the 4% of the total transaction will go to staking rewards. And so with that being said, basically we want to reward stakers via volume, so transacted volume, and essentially we're not doing it through reflections, we're doing it through staking. And we're doing it through a brand new staking mechanism, which is what we call temporal staking, which I'm sure you saw in the white paper as well.
That was actually my next question, that what is temporal staking, and and what are the benefits, and how is this the future? Exactly why would people like to have temporal staking over traditional staking?
Yeah, I don't know. It's actually really basic in what it is, and I don't know that everyone is going to like it. I think that whales or people that have a lot of capital may not be as inclined, and here's why. Because typically, when you stake your tokens into a staking contract, you're basically getting a share of the pool based on your share of the contributions. Does that make sense? So like if you put tokens into a staking pool and they represent 10% of that staking pool, you'll get 10% of the rewards. And so that's just like basically like just think of the typical math. And so and I don't know, maybe it exists, but what we're doing, we think that there's like a very important component missing, and that's obviously time. And so we think that not only should the bag size or the size of your staking balance matter, but how long have you been staked? And what's cool about this is that we don't have to measure your time staked to the total time in existence, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. We can tie your staking share to the longest current staker. And what I mean by that is just assume that your rewards are just this combination, almost 50-50 between how big your bag is or how big your staking balance is and the time that you've been staked. Now let's assume that the current longest staker is the benchmark for times. Well, when they unstake, the new longest staker
sorry,
moves
Andrew,
up,
it sort
and
of cut
everyone
out.
else is received.
I couldn't hear some of it. Could you repeat that, please? Sorry about
Okay,
that.
where did I cut out? Something? No, it's okay. How long ago?
Like
I'm
just
talking
like
about just the nerdiest stuff.
just like 10, 15 seconds
Yeah.
ago. Or maybe
So
maybe
what
it's just cut out from mine. Maybe it's just recording properly. I have no idea, because sometimes it happens, right? I guess once you see the recording, everything's okay. But I just
we probably forgot to hit the record button. This is all for just us. No, so basically what I was saying is, and I think this is interesting, is so we don't have to base the staking time based on the total time in existence.
Right.
Essentially, imagine yourself, you stake today, you're being benchmarked against the longest staker. So at some point, that staker is going to unstake and take profits, any number, right?
Yeah.
And so when that happens, they actually move out of the equation. To restake, they start over on their time, and everyone else is actually getting a larger percentage of the rewards. So it obviously, not only does it incentivize you to stake longer, which is great for the protocol health, right? We want people to lock their tokens. It's great for stability and liquidity and stuff like that. But also it's almost like gamified in a sense, because you truly do, like, everyone's like, oh yeah, I have diamond hands, I can hodl, right? Well, like, can you? Because this will kind of show you. And it's not so big of a time reward versus a bag reward. Like, it's totally weighted. Like, if you have a monster balance and you want to stake it, you're still going to get a lot of rewards. But it does mean that someone that doesn't have as big of a bag, but maybe is going to stake longer, they can at least start leveling the playing field. And so in traditional reflection tokens, and I'm sure you've seen some of these, here's what typically happens. You've got whales that bought early, so they have a large quantity of the supply. And so by buying early, they are absorbing a massive quantity of the reflections, right? And so they don't even have to reduce their balance. They can just sell their daily reflections, make a ton of money. They can repress the price or keep the price stable or even push it down. And they're never, ever sacrificing their ability to gain those reflections. They're not having to reduce their balance. So it's a huge problem. It's never going to be solved for so long as reflections exist in that manner. And so temporal staking is our way of leveling the playing field, making the staking process more logical, if that makes sense. So in its essence, staking is super simple. It combines how long you've been staking with the size of your bag, and in a combination of that dictates your rewards.
Okay, awesome, right? Man. Yeah, that is a very fair deal, to be honest. I mean, so it's kind of like, even for the small fish that get in, it's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty good deal, I think. Although I'm not sure if any whale that is greedy, let's say. I mean, the whole point of DeFi is to have an ecosystem where it can be sustainable. Although so far, very few projects are able to maintain that promise, right? So which brings me to another question. I mean, say that of course, I hold some of these tokens, right? Now,
congrats. Thanks.
Yeah. My pleasure, man. My pleasure. So, like, if I'm staking these, right, would the reflections still be counted while I'm staking these tokens, or no?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And by the way, just before I answer that, in your last example, whales can still get in and hold, right? So or stake longer. So you could still imagine if you've got a big bag and you've held the longest, that's how you get the most rewards. So, but yes, so your question is, can you get reflections and still stake and get staking rewards? And so it's funny because our initial concept was to implement temporal. I actually don't ever tell anyone this, but we were going to implement, we called it temporal reflections. And so basically it was that same mechanism, but automated through reflections. Now, a big problem with that is that, there's a lot of problems with it. I'm not going to get into some of them. I don't know if this rises to prominence, we'll probably see some people do it. But the gas fees associated with calculating everyone's balances and everyone's time held, and then total time and stuff, it's a lot. It's a lot of for loops within, I guess, Solidity. And so the gas fees are So basically,
So
by
sorry, you
switching
got
it
cut
to
out. The gas
staking,
fees or
we
what?
can
So sorry,
the
the
gas
gas.
fees were the gas fees were basically outrageous doing temporal, what we called reflections. And so, but to get back to your question, the answer is we initially were going to do, so take the 2% rewards, we're going to do 1% to reflections and 1% to staking, because if you stake your balance, you still receive reflections. And the reason that is because the staking pool was receiving the reflections. And so it was this really cool mechanism where you could get both, right? So you could get more rewards if you stake, but you don't have to sacrifice your reflections. Now, we decided to kill that. So there's going to be, once the staking contract's live, you know this, the staking contract is not live yet.
Yep.
Once it's live, reflections are gone. They'll be gone forever. So in order to receive rewards, you will have to stake. And the reason we went down that path is because people want to feel involved in DeFi. They want to be actively participating, in my opinion. And so locking their tokens in a contract, for starters, it helps them achieve that. But it also allows us to do something cool with the Treasury, and we can get into that as well.
Absolutely, man. Which does bring me back to the next question: is that how will the Treasury maintain itself, and you know, how will it, you know, like how will that play a role in the, you know, in the price recovery, you know, which we've been talking about, because right now, I mean, everything on paper sounds great, man, and it really does, you know. It's really impressive, and you know, it seems like, you know, you are really trying to build something great here. But the issue that I think we both know very well is that people in the crypto space are extremely impatient. So, you know, so you know, what my question is really is that how is this Treasury going to play that role, and how will it be sustainable to begin with? I mean, you mentioned something about putting your own BNB in there, so you have a lot of your own skin in the Treasury right now, right? But
no,
how?
Yeah.
Good. But how will you keep sustaining this? And
yeah, no, I hear you. And sorry, my all the money I've invested is in liquidity. It's locked in the liquidity pool. So
okay,
to establish trading. So the treasury starts from zero when we launch the protocol. And so if you look at the Treasury right now, the Treasury has like I think it's like 53% of the total supply of Novo. And so it is important to note that and by the way, from like a security standpoint, maybe people care, maybe people don't. The Treasury is a Gnosis safe, multi-sig wallet with 7 required signatures, and one of which is a hardware wallet. So it's pretty safe. But going like back to the Treasury, that balance of Novo is not ever going to be used to like sell Novo, not necessarily now, right, for money. That balance in Novo is going to be for seeding liquidity and supply on other chains, which again, we'll get into. So earlier I said on those transactions, 0.5% of the transaction is going to the Treasury. So really right now, the only way the Treasury is making money is by transaction volume. And it's not super significant yet. Like if you think about how early we are, like we have 300, I think we have like 330 holders, maybe. Like volume yesterday maybe was like, I don't know, 100 to 200,000 in volume transacted. So like this is so early that like that amount of transactions has, I mean, maybe it's generated, you know, a couple BNB, maybe 1,500. So like the Treasury has to make its money. And so we'll talk about what the Treasury ultimately will do. One of the other important things is that we are able to earn income from liquidity pools, like the trading going on in the liquidity pool. But it's also kind of ironic because we don't have access to that because the liquidity pool is locked. And so I strategically did it for 6 months and not for a year, because at some point after we built trust, people are going to want us to have access to our liquidity, right? Like that's the only way we can move things forward. So currently right now, the Treasury doesn't have a lot of power. because the Treasury has to earn in the same way that holders will earn. So I'll talk a little bit about what the Treasury will do. But as far as like currently, like the Treasury contract, the Gnosis safe, I think it's Gnosis. I don't know how you say it. It's linked in our documentation, so like you can track it. We wanted to do this. I guess we wanted to make sure that like we were malleable moving forward. So like a lot of things on the Treasury front can and probably will change. And this is probably a good opportunity to answer. You asked me very, very, very early on in this AMA why I allowed trading before staking was up and before all this stuff was up. Do you remember that? Yep. And the answer was because I wanted to start a community that would basically help us form like the Smart Treasury version 1. Because like, I don't know everything and I don't know what I don't know. And there's a lot of smart people in DeFi that are going to have some really good ideas. And so that's why we launched, because I want those people invested. I want them interested and I want them in the community giving us feedback, because that's how we're going to ultimately structure things. Now, without like talking too poorly about the Treasury and it not having a lot of funds yet, here's one interesting thing that it will do. And this is, again, I hate to say like it doesn't exist, it's not happening yet, but like we're so early, right? Like we need time to implement these things. And I don't know if I've answered your question, but I do want to keep touching on the Treasury. So basically earlier we talked about staking your Novo, correct? Right? Like, yeah. So when you lock your Novo into our staking contract, we don't want to just lock it and take it away, to, hide it away forever, right? Like we don't have a need for that. And then the other idea is that we don't necessarily have a need for your liquidity, right? Because we've got our own generating liquidity from the transactions. And so what we can do with that is we can reinvest it. So if you lock $1,000 worth of Novo, you're going to be earning rewards from the protocol constantly as transactions are happening, okay? But imagine if we can also put that into a yield optimizer or a vault, right? And so you're basically going to be double dipping. And essentially what that means is you're going to be earning your rewards as if not only from Novo, but as if you were actively investing in other safe investments within the like the DeFi space. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. But
so like that's when things are going to get
right. Okay, very, very interesting. But how are you guys going to go about it? I mean, if I'm staking my tokens, right, wouldn't they be already in the contract? So how will you use my money to do that? I mean, that was something that was I was really curious about, because how will you pull it off?
Yeah, it's going to be that's why I kind of was talking about how things may change. Because initially the idea, one of our theories is we can collateralize it and use the value of it. So find a way to collateralize the value of your Novo staked into a stable coin, and then use stable coins to do it. So because like we're not, I mean, people have asked, are we, what are we going to do with the funds? Are we going to invest in other crypto startups and all this stuff? And the answer is not, I mean, I'm not going to say no, but like initially, like we want DeFi to finally be like, I don't know, safe. We don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So like the yields that we want to attain from the reinvestment should be very like manageable, like normal yields. Let's say 10%, right? But that's in addition to what we're doing. So the actual functionality of taking the value from the Treasury, right, or from the locked staking contract and reinvested, there's like a multitude of ways that can happen. And so we don't know the best way yet. And I think, and hopefully we figure it out, but whatever we do initially, I can almost guarantee you is probably going to be somewhat manual, right? Like the whole goal of this is eventually to automate through smart contracts. We don't want to have to do, all of this manual work. But I do think that the human element, especially if we can get really, really good minds on it, maybe a little bit better if there is some manual input to it. And so it probably leads you into also another question: why are we not a DAO? I'm sure that's on there, but is it?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of that's what I'm wondering. Why aren't you guys a DAO then? Because wouldn't that make things a lot more easier? And you know,
Yeah, I don't know. It might. So obviously on the DAO front, I think that I don't know that it would be easier. I think that the jury is still out on the efficacy of DAOs, and that like currently with the current landscape of DAOs, we're kind of seeing that like their ability to deploy capital in efficient manner has yet to be proven. And
right,
so people like the idea of them, right? They love the decentralized nature of it, and I do too. I think that they're incredible, and I think the power of a DAO will be something that becomes very standard. But for us and for what we're doing and for the adaptability that we need, I don't think it's the best route. Now, is that to say we're not going to become a DAO in the future? I don't know.
yeah,
I think at some point maybe, but like right now, I think that we can serve our holders and generate more returns better with community-driven feedback. Like it's still, I mean, it's just not going to be, I guess, from like a voting or a governance standpoint yet. And so my main answer to that is I just don't know how effective they are yet. And I don't know if our ability to succeed is, going to have an increased chance because of it.
right, yeah. Because my only concern is, man, when I read that, from it's just not something that I think, but something that someone who's new to crypto or somebody that still is very, very iffy about it or something. When they read something like that, we'll use your money and put in other yield optimizers or something, or anything for that matter. They're gonna be like, well, it's not a DAO, right? So doesn't that, like, people might just have that impression that you might have some back, what they call those backdoor keys to the contract or something, that you can take out the money or something. I mean, that's the only. How are you really like when you guys are launching? How do you really plan to make sure that nobody even has that slightest bit of thought? Because as YouTube, the reason why I'm asking you this right now is that because if somebody goes back and checks Novo, it has somebody covered Novo, and we've talked about it. They're like, okay, what, this makes a lot of sense, right? But a lot of times with YouTubers, man, when they read a website or they go through something, the first thing is their first reaction is, let's spread FUD, because FUD is the favorite thing to do, right? You got to spread FUD, and sadly, that's the case with a lot of people. So I'm just wondering how are you really going to build that trust and try to get the word across that that is not something that you plan to do, and it's actually a really fair system where none of your funds are going to be affected at all.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think there's always going to be like some element of trust. And honestly, investing very early, even if it seems trustworthy, like the trust factor is somewhat baked in to the low price, right? And so for me, right, not being a DAO and sort of being wholly managed by a company or an LLC, which we are, right? Like is as really a solo founder. I have people that work for me, but I don't have necessarily, I wouldn't call them like core founders. And so it's kind of just me, right? Like I'm on the hook and I live in the United States. I have fully doxed myself. Okay. Like you can find me, I'm not hiding. And so first and foremost, like I don't want to go to jail. Does that make sense? Like as far as backdoors go, like I am, it is my aim to be the best and possible steward of funds, because I'm on the hook for everything. And so like, maybe that's not a good answer, but like, yeah, I don't want to go to jail. So that should be a pretty good answer. Like,
I think that's a great answer, man. Like, I don't want to go to jail.
I can't steal. I mean, I can't steal from you. And again, I'm not hiding, right? Like my name's Andrew Eddy. Go look me up.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's way better than, hey, man, I'm anonymous, I'm going to use your money, and then be like, oh, you know what? We got hacked, and then something happened, and then your funds went down. But hey, listen, let's recover those funds. Let's get it back up, and then let's just take it all out and say, hey, you know what? It didn't work out. So I guess I don't want to go to jail is a great answer, man. It's great.
And again, getting hacked,
And
so
sorry to cut you, man.
I
was actually throwing some fire at a project recently that did something like that exactly, and I was unfortunately affected by it as well. Not going to take any names, but I'm pretty sure most people know it. It's something financial. Let's put it this way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think I do know. Yeah, I mean, that's the truth of it. And I don't know. I've done everything I can. I'm doing everything I can to protect everything, right? Contracts. I'm the contract owner. I actually, I'll be the contract owner of everything. And again, that's not like my personal wallet. These are safes and multi-sig wallets. So as far as best practices, we're doing everything we can. We're doing our first audit right now, a comprehensive audit. And then when we can, we'll do the big boy and CerTic or something like that. It's a lot of money, and I've put a lot of money into this. So at some point I'll do it. Just about managing funds at this point. So, whatever we can do to make people feel more comfortable, we want to be upfront and transparent about. And I hope we get these questions, because I think having these conversations is just far beyond what most of these, crypto AMAs are about. They're not, they probably want to talk about their massive APY. I just want to talk about the basics, because what we're doing here is not crazy. We're not doing anything crazy. And so, yeah, sure. Maybe I can't guarantee certain returns, and obviously I can never talk about price, but I do think that as far as a really good, solid, safe investment vehicle for the long term, I think that's where we'll fit in to this whole space.
Well, actually, that is exactly what's needed, because a lot of those, like we've talked about, a lot of those APYs, they never really come to fruition, man, to begin with. So, you're just investing in a freaking pipe dream anyways. So, right. So might as well do it on something where, somebody's being totally transparent. And I think that is exactly what is needed in the crypto space right now. It's transparency and trust. And it may not be something crazy, but if it's done in a fair and honest way, then that is the most important thing, man, because I think crazy has been overdone in crypto anyways. So might as well stick to something legit. And I think that's why we're here right now. I will touch on the APY stuff, but that's not really important, because right now I really want to focus on the project itself and what it can actually do, right? Which is why we're having such a detailed conversation to begin with. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, please go on. Please continue.
I was just gonna say, I can never give people APY numbers. For starters, it's not rebasing. We can't just pick them or we can't just make them, right? So we don't know, right, what it's going to be. It's purely dedicated to volume. And so the biggest thing that we probably need to talk about, and the number one goal of what we need to do, is generate volume, right? If I had one job, it is to get out there, build stuff that generates volume. And we can talk a little bit about that, because, one of the other things we said we were going to talk about is the chain agnosticism, which essentially just means obviously I think most people know it, but it just means it doesn't have just, a particular chain. It kind of functions and flows across all chains. But it probably is a good segue also into one of our most basic but also important products that we're working on, Novo Pay. I'm sure you saw that on the website and in the white paper.
I will be touching on that. In fact, I actually did want to ask you about Novo Pay. How are you, correct me if I'm wrong, because from what I read is that you want to bring an ecosystem, basically a payment method gateway to DEXs instead of centralized exchanges, right? So with all these ridiculous, I would say ridiculous, but all these ridiculous crypto regulations coming out and all this stuff, right? How do you really plan to achieve this, man? Because because honestly, that has been one of the biggest problems. Because a lot of people, as you can see with everything that is happening around the world, no, people are losing trust in governments, man. I mean, they have been losing trust in governments for a while, but it's just been, it's been sort of like on the rise, especially in these last 2 years. You know, let's not get into that why, but it's definitely there, man.
Go down a rabbit hole. Yeah, I hear you.
It's definitely there. Yeah. But the main point is that, and a lot of people, the reason why I think one thing why we need sustainability in DeFi is because we want to be in control of our own money. You know, we don't like for example, if you and I earn honestly, who has the right to ask me where I use that money? Where do I spend it, man? It's my money. You know, I can spend it wherever I like because I acquired it through honest means. You know. Or something.
Yeah,
I'm
with you.
Yeah. So the question is, how will you bring Novo Pay to DEXs? This is something that has not been done yet. And actually, if you guys pull it off, I think you guys are probably gonna get the largest TVL, man.
Well, so yeah. First of all, you're right. Like fiat to crypto is an incredibly regulated space. And by the way, I'm all for as little government involvement in my life as possible, similar to you. So I think most people that are going to be watching this probably share that sentiment. But so like I said, so we're not trying to solve fiat to crypto, okay? Because there's a lot of really good companies that are providing that. So if you think Simplex, think Wires, think MoonPay, think Ramp Network. Okay. So what they do and what they're good at is they solve the KYC, and they solve for getting typically like a stable coin, right? And so Novo Pay is actually, it's not meant for you and me. It's not meant for the people that have experience with DeFi. You and I have the ability to even transfer. We can find a way to convert our Ethereum to BNB or whatever chain we need, and then go use a decentralized exchange and swap and hopefully minimize fees as best as possible. But for 99% of the people in the world that want to get involved in this space, they're just not going to do it. They're not going to be able to figure out, like, okay, I'll get a call from a friend that wants to invest in Novo, and they're going to say, hey, I have some Bitcoin in Coinbase. Can I invest? And I'm like, oh man, yeah, technically you can. Can you send your Bitcoin to like, just, I don't know, download a DeFi wallet and send it, and then find a way to swap it and get it on, make sure you get it on the Binance Smart Chain, get some Smart Chain. And then obviously just go to Pancake Swap and set the slippage to 6% and swap your tokens, right? Like they're done. They're not going to go do it. Okay. And we are used to people that do it. But again, 99% of the population isn't going to do it. So that was the goal of Novo Pay. And so essentially this is all we're doing. And when I say how basic it is, you're going to be like, that can't be it. But we basically implement a fiat onboard ramp. Let's use Ramp Network, right? And so essentially within our DApp, you can say, I want $500 worth of Novo, okay? And so we don't want to deal with the regulatory requirements around selling our token for Novo, okay? But it doesn't mean we can't hide the process and behind the scenes. And so what we do is we implement payment onboarding. So you can buy BNB directly in our DApp, okay? But imagine this, you don't know that you're buying BNB. What we do is we intercept the payment, we hook it up to your wallet, and then we are in real time swapping, doing everything behind the scenes, maintaining decentralization, and you're getting Novo. So basically everything stays the same, but the end result is the same, but the process, especially for someone new, they don't have to know how to do anything. You can just literally say, go to our website and buy the token. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important for us because we want people to buy Novo, and it's an opportunity to generate volume on transactions, because you're going to have payment processing transactions to get from fiat to crypto. That's always going to be there, right? But this is an opportunity for us to add and tack on to these little transactions. Novo Pay not only burns a little bit of Novo, but it also generates rewards for stakers. Okay. So now imagine we're doing this for our project. We want to offer this to other projects. Okay. So you've got, I don't know, Dodo coin, and they want to be able to get people to buy Dodo. Like they've got all these people that want to buy Dodo, or maybe they're people that want to buy it don't know how. They can actually offer direct pay, like they could use a copy and paste code right into their dApp, and they can start offering the same solution. And so if we can offer this solution across DeFi, we can generate really serious volume. And again, like I said earlier, our goal is to generate volume. If we can generate volume, we've done our job. And so that's sort of one of the first, I would say, ecosystem product plays to generate volume. And of course, our second, it's not necessarily a direct way of generating volume, but it's a dream of mine. And I think it's important is to get to chain agnosticism, which was kind of like a good segue, I think.
Awesome, man. That's
makes sense also.
It does make sense, and it's very impressive, actually. I think it's kind of like smooth sailing. So, which also brings me to another question: like, will you be integrating other crypto buying options within the Novo platform then as well? Would that also be an option, or would it just be for Novo?
Yeah, I won't say no, right? Like initially it's just Novo, but I think I'll probably answer that in just a bit with the cross-chain stuff, because we do want Novo to finally be like a good, secure way to move cross-chain, regardless of whether if you're using or holding Novo. And so, yeah, who knows? Maybe if it generates volume, we'll do it, right? And if it's a need, we'll do it. And if we receive the feedback from the community, we'll do it.
Awesome, man. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because the way you describe the process, I think one of the biggest problems, especially in countries where, they're just trying to block payment gateways from fiat to crypto just for the heck of it, without knowing anything. I think that could solve a lot of issues. Another thing I was wondering, I mean, since you guys are introducing Novo Pay, do you have any plans of bringing out your own version of a Visa or something of a debit card, that integrates with your app or something, which does allow people to use it anywhere in the world? I'm just curious, because there's so much that you guys are trying to do. So I was just wondering, I was realizing that, maybe that's another thing that you guys might have been planning or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a really good question, and it's a good thought. And so before I answer that, one of my biggest, I saw a roadmap that is 1,000 things long, and every project seems to be doing everything. They're going to do it all, right? Like everything on the roadmap. And so I do envision a world where we have our own card. And again, that's because, I mean, you want to talk about driving volume. Here's like ultimate volume. But I don't want to say that. I mean, first of all, from a regulatory requirement, it's a big headache. And then also, obviously, right now, we're so new. Who's going to get a Novo card? No one, not yet. And so, yeah, if we get to 500,000 holders, and we can prove what we're doing and that it works, and that this is a sustainable giant in the DeFi space that's here to stay, absolutely. Yeah, I think it'd be a great idea. I think it's something that would drive incredible amounts of volume, and then solve the problem that people desire in our space. And that's, hey, utility. We want to use our crypto to buy goods and services, and we just can't, or it's not easy. And so when I said earlier that we have a proxy contract and we can change things, we don't have to have a 5% fee on credit card transactions, right? Like we can change that to whatever we want. That could be a 1% fee. It could be a 0.5% fee, right? Because we never want to sacrifice higher fees in the sort of in sacrifice of lowering volume, right? Like we would rather raise volume and lower fees, and hopefully they meet up in the middle somewhere. Because when you see a reflection token and they're like, you're going to receive so much, there's a 20% tax and it's all going to be, like BUSD rewards or something like that. Well, those taxes are unsustainable. There's not going to be any volume. It's going to hype for a little bit and then it's going to crash and it'll be done, right? You're not going to receive those. So why not do a lower? That's why the 5% buy-in tax, 5% is even, I didn't even love how high it was. I think it's a necessary evil. I think it's a good starting point, but they're not going to see volume. If you have a high taxed crypto volume, I mean, like, you're never going to see high volume. Keep the tax lower, 20x your volume, and it's as if you were charging. So again, I think
can you repeat that? Sorry about that.
Volume horse to death.
It's like, if you do 20 times, it's like you're charging what?
Yeah. So basically, what I was saying is, basically, imagine you've got a really large, a 20% tax, right? Because you want to generate rewards. Well, there's not going to be any volume. People aren't going to buy it. Like, maybe initially they will. And so having a lower tax obviously incentivizes volume. So it's as if you're getting that higher. I mean, the volume matters. So it's as if you have a higher tax, right? As far as the overall income, if you're generating more volume. So whatever, it's just I guess it's a logical way of saying we would prefer to have very low imposed tax on transactions because it's in favor of volume. And like, if you're going to have low volume at 20%, right? Like, you would need, 4 times or whatever the amount of volume to get to the same rewards. Well, you're going to have way more than that with a lower taxed token. Sorry, I don't know if that's making any sense, but
no, totally. It makes perfect sense, man. I think that's a pretty good approach, honestly, to bring more people onto the platform and sort of do it in a way where it's sustainable and it's also not ridiculously charged. So I think that's really, really cool. And now I want to touch upon, I was looking at the utility section in the white paper. Now, obviously, we talked about Novo Pay, we talked about reflections, we talked about staking, temporal staking, but I want you to talk to me about, tell me, like, what exactly, what are the functions of the proxy growth and treasury yields? What exactly is this, and what are you planning to do with this, and how is this going to help Novo as a project, or even for investors? What can they look forward to when they see something like that? Could you please elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it all goes back to the kind of the double dipping that I was talking about earlier. And so again, if you think about the value of your investment being locked and just sort of not doing anything, it would be a shame. And so obviously the Treasury is not necessarily limited in the way it earns income. And like I mentioned, the liquidity pool earns income currently, just not going to the Treasury yet. But like, you can think of that as, in a perfect world where liquidity is not locked, those funds are available for a multitude of things. We call them price recovery mechanisms, but it doesn't have to be, it can buy back, it can buy Novo from the market and just burn them. Or during times of low volume, when rewards are lower, we can send liquidity fees earned, we can send those straight to the staking contract, and whoever stakes can earn them. So there's stuff like that the Treasury can do. But also on top of that, like I mentioned earlier, the Treasury can, and again, the mechanism for this isn't set in stone, but the Treasury obviously is reinvesting. And so if you think about making the decision right now to invest in like a stable coin yield vault on like DeFi finance, like, you're making a pretty good decision, in my opinion, to earn pretty stable and safe returns, which I think is a fantastic idea. And so obviously DeFi is kind of handling like the logistics behind it and optimizing it for you and making sure that like you're getting compounded rewards. But imagine if you are using Novo as a sort of a bridge to that. So obviously you're staked and you're earning your Novo rewards. And again, this is not a promise of anything. Let's just say volume's high and you're getting, 100% APY, right? Like, this is totally theoretical. You're getting 100% APY. You're also still earning your yields from that money invested as if you just went straight to DeFi. And so not only are you earning yields from both, but those are compounding with themselves. So not only is your balance going up within this temporal staking contract, and the longer you hold, your time's going up and you're earning more rewards, everything's compounding on itself. So it's kind of like the perfect storm if you think about it. Now, what's required from us is executing it properly and doing it right. That just goes back to, you know, this is early and there's a trust element to that, and but it helps you sort of conceptualize more of how the smart treasury works, and it really will be the heart of the protocol when it's sort of up and firing. And just to that really quickly, like I think that a lot of people might be like, listen, this all sounds great, but like the staking contract's not even finished. So like when is like all this stuff going to come? And I can't guarantee when it's going to come, but I would certainly say that I think from a new project standpoint, maybe your goal in the short term can be price appreciation, because unlike a rebase token that says ignore the price, we want the price to go down, we're going to throw so many rewards down your throat, who cares about the price? We'd like the price to go up. Like it's sort of in everyone's best interest. So that's the goal. There's no, you know, this isn't we're not trying to bootstrap liquidity. We're not, and we're definitely not going to start spinning up bonds out of thin air and selling them to you either. We won't do that. And that's sort of another thing that kind of irks me, but I hope that helps with the, and I call it proxy growth because it's the treasury going out for you and acting as your proxy, if that makes sense.
Got it. So basically what you guys are really trying to do is you're really trying to get people to, so let me get this straight. In short, if I had to summarize what Novo is, it's a decentralized staking protocol where is it safe to say that it's a true hodl coin rather than a selling coin?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they say so many projects will say you're incentivized to hodl. You're incentivized to hodl for sure. Because so like, think about this. The biggest threat to, you know, okay, it doesn't take a game theorist or like a 9,9 to assume that if everyone sells, that's a bad thing, right? Like no duh. And then if everyone's staking, obviously that's always going to be a good thing. Like the whole game theory, like it's just smoke and mirrors. But if everyone's selling, right, like the price is going to go down. There's nothing you can do about that. Now, when that's happening, here's what's also happening. Volume is skyrocketing. Rewards are skyrocketing. Treasury is actively investing in staking rewards, and people are unstaking. So if you can truly hold through that, you're earning a large share of the rewards. And by the way, those rewards, once again, they weren't spun up out of thin air. They're real rewards. They're real money. So in times of heavy sell pressure, yeah, like especially at volume, it's not going to matter. Like you truly will be earning a large quantity of new tokens. And then so here's the other cool thing, right? Maybe there's low volume consistently and price isn't moving. And you're like, gosh, I should have just been in. I should have just put it like, you know, this month I should have pulled it out and put in a beefy yield vault. You're already there. So like so it's like a hedge against different market conditions.
Makes sense, man.
So yeah, I don't know. I get excited because it all sounds neat to me. I wanted this for myself. And because it didn't exist, I had to just sort of will it into existence.
Yeah, man. Honestly, you know, for me personally, as someone who is in the space, you know, I do want to be in a protocol where I can just, you know, put my money and not really worry too much about, you know, what the hell is really going to happen, where I can earn a pretty decent income. I mean, you know, sure. As you know, for most of us in the crypto space, this has sort of become our full-time thing, man. You know, it's like, you know, it's kind of like this is what we do. And so yeah, you know, and obviously people think that, you know, it's easy to be in crypto. Nah, it's not. It takes a lot of research, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, and obviously a lot of risk factor too. So, you know, when you see your money being misused in the crypto space, that feeling totally sucks. But sometimes, you know, you just got to wear your big boy pants and just, you know, get through it and, you know, sort of do that. But I'm just hoping, I mean, the way I see it with Novo is that the way, you know, I can see how passionate you are about this project, and the way you're the way you've designed it. So what I really feel is I think you really want the type of investors to come in here, who don't have to wear the big boy pants, and they're like, you know what, we got into crypto and we had a great experience. So
Exactly.
am I saying the right thing here? Is that what Novo is trying to do?
Yeah. So here's my catchy time. Like, this is what I like to say is that Novo is one token diversified. So like, if you could think about it from that perspective,
can you please
like
repeat that again?
Like, you're always going to hear, don't put all your, I always say Novo is one token diversified. So if you think about it, and it's always a good recommendation, like be smart, diversify your investments. And so what I'm saying is diversify across DeFi. And so by not being super sort of, and especially like once it's easier to buy, by not being like you and I, who are actively investing in the space, and we're like constantly trying to figure out the next play or where to sort of move capital to better generate returns. It's a fairly safe place for them to also, like I said, through the Treasury, like be somewhat diversified and not have all their eggs in one basket. So yeah, I think that if you look at like our mission and our documentation and some of those things, if you can back out and look at Novo from a macro perspective, our goal is truly to make DeFi and hopefully crypto as a whole more accessible to the masses, right? Not just to you and I, but to everyone. And so if hiding the whole decentralized swap process helps people buy, we'll do it, right? If we need to onboard people through centralized exchanges, whatever we need to do to get people into DeFi and further the space, because a rising tide lifts all ships, we'll do it. And so that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So I have a couple of more questions, and obviously this is all great and awesome. So what I'm really wondering now is if you can talk about this, if you're even allowed to talk about it. You don't have to answer this one if you don't want to, but I just want to know, are you guys working on some really interesting partnerships right now? And what are the next steps? How are you guys approaching your marketing for Novo? Or have you even started it, or is it still something that you guys are still like, it's all under wraps and you don't want to talk about it at all? It's totally up to you, man. Yeah. But I thought I should ask this. Yeah.
No, it's a good question. And people, I mean, to be honest, all this, like the technical or the mumbo jumbo I've been talking about, people probably care about this more. And I understand why. Like, what are y'all doing? How are y'all going to further my investment, protect my investment? And so to the marketing thing, eventually first of all, I'm a big proponent in like hiring and finding the right people to do the job. And so I think that we will enlist like a fairly large marketing company, hopefully at some point, if it's a good use of our capital. But right now, I am very scared of uncontrollable growth. And I guess by that, I mean, there's a lot of hype in our space, right? Like, and it is like my biggest fear that Novo starts popping up in some Reddit channel where they're like, everyone, let's like, this is the, like, I don't want unsustainable hype growth. And I know a lot of people will be disappointed to hear that, but if we can do things slowly to an extent, like, okay, here's an example. Yesterday, we went from like a $1 million market cap to like a $2.2 million market cap in like a matter of hours. And for me, I'm like, that's, great, but like, this is a little, like, it needs to slow down a little bit. It's a little uncontrollable. And like, literally, we're at such an early stage, price can totally be manipulated. We saw it in our chart. Like, clearly one bot with multiple wallets was dumping and buying, and the price was shooting down and up. And like, we're stabilized at a normal market cap, but because it's a volume-based protocol, they did nothing but help everyone, right? So as far as growth and marketing, yes, we want to do it. We want to do it responsibly. We want to do it and encourage word of mouth marketing as best we can. Me doing this is what I want to be doing. I want to be talking to the crypto world. I don't want to be shoving APY numbers down people's throats. So I think of like a very organic conversation around what we're doing here. I think this has far more virality than, perhaps going and promising trips to the moon in crypto moonshots or some subreddits, right? And so as far as partnerships, I won't talk about partnerships per se, but like we definitely have some cool, I call them moonshots, like within our org. And so we are working on there's two things, one thing in particular, and there, I'm not going to put a timeline on this, but there's one thing in particular in the space that, and
Can you repeat that? Sorry about
it's
that.
called Epic.
The one thing in the what?
Yeah. I was talking about, like, if you look on our website, you'll see a small mention called Epic Labs. And so I'm passionate about a lot of different sectors, and by having Novo as a stable protocol, I think that it's a good segue into some other opportunities. And so one in particular would be in the real estate space. And so we are working on I don't know, I'll keep it a secret project for now, but I think it's going to be pretty cool, and hopefully something that's somewhat scalable. But if anything, it's really neat. And then hopefully in the long run can generate volume. So yeah, we've got some like really cool stuff in the works that are kind of behind the scenes, that I think one of which is going to surprise people because it doesn't really have that much to do with like our core. But yeah, man, I think that we're going to do some really cool stuff in the space that will surprise a lot of people. I have a hard stop in like 30 minutes, so we should really quickly cover the chain agnosticism stuff.
Absolutely,
right?
man.
Because
my plan is to just post this exactly how we had this talk.
Perfect.
As organic. Absolutely, I would love for you to touch on the chain agnostic stuff that you've been talking about. I mean, I kind of know what it is, but
it's not.
Yeah.
You know what? This is, I wouldn't say that this is innovative or that, and by the way, nothing we're doing is like on the like super innovative. It's just kind of like common sense maybe. And it is surprising a lot of it doesn't exist. So like, obviously nothing we do is a fork. We write it from scratch ourselves. But yeah, so the chain stuff, it's important. People are like, why did you launch on BSC? And I personally am not a big fan of the Binance Smart Chain. Like, honestly, at this point, it's kind of like a meme coin moonshot like chain. But the reason I chose it was it's well supported. It's good for like a starting growing project. It's incredibly cheap, and this protocol is going to require moving a lot of funds around if you're doing it right, and staking and unstaking, improving contracts, stuff like that. And obviously my first choice would be Ethereum. I launched on BSC knowing that it wasn't our final destination, knowing that we're going to be adding chains and a little bit of a different way than you've typically seen in the past, right? So when you mint and burn tokens to move cross-chain, it represents a sort of a security risk, and there is some sketchy area or opportunity for theft, right? I actually believe something like that's happened recently on quite a large scale. And so I think there's a couple other projects doing it, but we're going down the bridge locker route. And so the reason I have 50% of the total Novo supply in our in the Treasury right now is because pick a chain, any chain, a good one. Solana, maybe. What do you like?
Man, I think they all are pretty neat, but at the moment, I think Avalanche is pretty good. Avalanche,
yeah,
AVAX.
Good. Yeah, Avalanche was a likely candidate for the second chain. And so essentially what we'll do is we'll mint 1 billion Novo on that chain, right? And there will always be, actually, correction, we will mint the amount of Novo that currently exist across all chains, so just the Binance Smart Chain. Because remember, we're deflationary. So at this point, we're less than 1 billion tokens in circulation, not in circulation, but in total. So whatever that number is at the time of minting will match up. And so we'll mint that total number. And then what we'll do is we will take out of the Treasury, let's just assume it's 200, let's say it's 100 million Novo. We'll move those into an Avalanche locker, right? and we'll release that supply on AVAX. So essentially, what's going to happen is you're going to have one supply across all these different chains. Now, where it gets super technical and where we're going to have to innovate and where we're going to have to come up with some really cool solutions is that the goal is to maintain one staking rewards pool. So if you're staking on Ethereum or Binance or AVAX, all chains are going to be sharing one staking rewards volume, and for that matter, all volume. So to make it a cohesive unit will be a challenge, but the ultimate goal here is to be completely chain agnostic, and then to also be a good solution for, I still don't have a good way of doing some weird chain swaps, right? Like if I want to go from, let's just say like Poly to, I don't know, BSC or like AVAX or something. So basically what we can do is on any chain that we support, we can offer swapping, and we're going to do it in a way where you don't even have to hold Novo, right? So like you could just go to our DApp and swap Ethereum for AVAX because we have the liquidity on those chains. But like, we're not going to make you go buy and hold Novo to do it, which is the case. You're just going to be able to do it. We can still behind the scenes, there'll be a small Novo transaction and we'll burn a little bit of Novo. But again, we're all about hiding the convoluted for sake of just making it easier. And so, I'm sure you've seen like, hey, you got to buy and hold this token to so whatever. It's all complicated. And so we see a huge opportunity by doing this and arbitrage. And the last thing I'll say is, what is going to destroy, or rather, what is going to make this really work and what is going to really drive volume is creating, whether it's somewhat artificial or whether it's just the markets working the way they do, is to create arbitrage opportunities across chains. And then we're going to see volume like no other.
Right. So yeah, this is something that I really find interesting with what you said, is that you won't have to hold Novo to buy other cryptos on your platform. And I think, but let me get this straight. Obviously, the transaction fees, would it be correct to say that they are going to go into the liquidity pool of Novo?
Yeah, so there's going to be, the same mechanisms can happen behind the scenes. You just don't have to hold it. So like, let's say you want to just give me a pair. What do you want to swap? Like you can
say I want to swap, Ethereum for, I don't know, Luna or something.
Yeah, exactly. If their chains, if we've launched Novo on that chain, you should be able to pop in regardless of whether you're holding it and swap. And again, because we're going to have the liquidity now, and we can still curate the transactions and the actual mechanism behind them, because nothing that we do will ever not involve Novo. You just may not see it.
Right. And would you say that those holding Novo, this is going to be beneficial to them as well, obviously, right? Because as you said, because the transaction fees, if they're going into the market cap or total liquidity, that's going to increase the price of Novo as well, right?
Everything.
So for a hodler,
volume,
that's just that's like investing in a great company or stock, and basically the stock is appreciating in price. And I mean, theoretically,
everything. Everything that generates volume is a good thing for stakers, because that's where their rewards come from. So if Novo is a really good place to swap cross chain, even if you don't care about Novo or hold it, that's good for holders because they're earning rewards from it.
Awesome, man. That's fantastic. Which brings me, cool. I think because I think you also are running out of time, and I think we can keep going, we can keep talking, man. But
we'll do another one.
Absolutely. When we got to do another one when the project, when you've launched the DApp, man. I'd love to catch up with you at that point. But my last question.
The DApp looks amazing, by the way. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd love to see it, man. I'd love to check it out.
I'll send it to you. I'll show you.
Awesome. Appreciate it. So who are the core team members and what's the future for Novo? Basically, this was my final question. I think you've answered most of the future, but
Yeah.
I would like to touch upon the team as well, like, so that
Yeah.
people know kind of who's really behind this, and besides you, obviously.
Yeah, well, so obviously I said earlier, like core, like it really is like, so obviously I'm sort of the main team member. And I say that because most of the people I'm working with, like on the development side, like they are doxed to me. But like I pay them. Does that, I guess this isn't gonna make sense, but like they're sort of freelance. And so
Sorry,
but basically we've got an amazing.
You sorry about that. You got cut again. You were saying they're what? They're freelancers?
Yeah. Well, regardless. First of all, on our website, go to the team page. You can find. I think it's up to date. We are currently like reshuffling our dev team right now, mainly trying to add more people. But if you think about like the core team at this moment, I essentially have, it's one main front end dev, one main Solidity dev, and me. And then we've got a liquidity advisor who helps with a lot of like, is essentially going to help with a lot of the treasury stuff. We have a community manager, and we have currently we have some marketing help, and then we are going to be hiring like a lot here in the next 6 months. So also, if anyone's listening to this and has any of the skill sets that perhaps I've mentioned, please reach out. And then what was the other part of the question?
Obviously, the future of Novo. I think we've covered pretty much most of it.
I mean, I think I'll finish by saying it is it's so early. It's so early that like, obviously the future's unknown for everything, but we're excited. We think that this is a more sustainable protocol that can grow with DeFi. And that if you're to park your capital here, we really think it's going to be a good place for it. And hopefully we can make our holders proud. Something's going on. I think, can you hear me? This is perfect timing. I can't hear you. Hey.
Hello? Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to my mic, man. Weird. Okay, I think the last question, I think this is the indication. So, where can I find you? Where can people find you? What's the website for Novo? The exact real website. Could you just say it out?
My home address is, I'm just kidding. You can find all our information at www.novodefi.xyz. So that's the main site. It'll link to our documentation. I tell everyone, just start with the documentation, start learning it, reading it if you can. It's going to be changing a lot in the next couple of weeks and being updated, and adding more. And we're trying to create video content. So yeah, go look at that stuff, and it should hopefully provide a lot of clarity on what we're doing.
Awesome, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and
yeah, man,
this really getting into this was a lot of fun, and yeah, man, looking forward to all the developments. Wishing you all the best, and I really hope this thing takes off, and things in the future, man.
Dude, great talking to you. Cheers. Have a good day. Night.
You too, man. This is me, the DeFi signing out, and this is Andrew from Novo. Bye-bye.